Hello, Julian. Hello. Yes, please. You guys are on live now on our YouTube. So I think you can make use of the chat in case of any discussion. Whatever you're doing there, people are seeing it too.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so let me make you the host. Hello?
Okay, ma'am.
You can make use of chat box
No, okay.
because it's on live. But, okay. All right. Thank you. Julian, I'm trying to make you a host. So I don't know. Okay, yeah, you are now.
Thank you for joining, Nero. Can you hear me? Hello,
Yeah, I can hear you.
good evening. Thank you for joining. We'll be starting shortly. Okay, so just relax, send it to your friends, tell them that we'll be starting soon for them to join this
Movement
exciting.
item 7.
Yes, there will be. There are a lot of prizes to be won. We have games.
No prizes to be won. Hope there's food.
How do you want to get your food?
That's why I don't like virtual meetings. I don't like virtual meetings because there's no food.
We'll figure something out for you. Okay, so just relax. Ooh, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, just chill. Invite your friends, your well wishers, everybody. Thank you for joining. Please, for those who came online.
See, I'm just going on my phone. I can't hear anybody. I can't hear anybody.
Good evening, people. I can hear you. Please go ahead. Hello, good evening, everybody. Please can you confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, welcome to
Good evening,
another.
Ngozi.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another meeting session of our program. Our moderator currently is having the technical difficulties. Join us shortly. Welcome. I see all of you. Thank you for joining Mary, William, Ahmed, Familia, Favor. Hello, Chigozie, are you ready? Can you hear me? Please
Yes,
go
I
ahead.
can hear you.
Yes, please go ahead. You can start now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So, good evening, everybody. I would like to test if everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, please respond. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I would like everybody to respond so that I can go on. Can we all hear me?
Yeah, Chigozie, I think I can hear it from my own end. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. That's good. Um, Good evening, everybody. I would like to welcome everybody to this enlightening technical session, proudly organized by the Society of Petroleum and Gas Engineering, SPE Session Warri, in collaboration with the Redeemer University and now University of Nigeria student chapters. I would like to welcome everybody. Today's section is centered around the theme, demystifying the role of petroleum engineering in CO2 sequestration. And my name is Chigozie Enebechi, and I'll be your moderator for today. Thank you very much for joining, and let's go down this road with us. But with further ado, I would like to also welcome a very important presence in our midst. His name is Mr. Emmanuel. He is a young professional in the in the SPA Warri section, and he has taken his time out to share his expertise on his insight into this theme that we're going to be talking about today. So I'd like to welcome you, sir. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Sorry, hello, can you all hear me?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chigozie. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to the YPs and professional members on the call. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, now we can dive in. So, I would like to check again. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So now, these are the listed activities for today. Up next, we have David Ishola on the safety moment. Do we have David Ishola here with us?
All right, I would fill up for him. He's not currently on the call.
Okay, no problem. Sorry, David Ishola, who is filling up for him, please?
Ojo Favor, please kindly move on to the next slide.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much. Is this
No. I mean, go back to the safety talk.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you
Right.
hear.
My name is Ujo Favor, and I'm the Programs and Energy Director of Redeemers University. I will be filling up for the president, and I will be taking the safety talk. Please, the next slide. All right. Please review the following ground rules. 1. Mute your mic when not speaking. 2. Raise up your hand to speak. 3. Use the chat button to make comments and ask questions. 4. Ensure you can still hear the fire alarm with your headset. 5. Be at alert and aware of your environment. 6. Maintain a good sitting posture. Always stay safe. I'll take it once again. Mute your mic when not speaking. Raise up your hands to speak. Use the chat button to make comments and ask questions. Ensure you can still hear the fire alarm with your headset. Be at alert and aware of your environment.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ujo. And up next, we have the opening remark. Please, Mr. Anthony, are you with us?
Yes, I am with you guys. Yes. All right. Good evening, everyone. Identify that you can hear me. Can you
We
hear
can
me?
hear you. Yes, we can hear you, Mr.
Loud and
Anthony.
clear. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you
We
so
can hear
much.
you, Mr. Anthony.
So good. First of all, I want to, commend all of you who are ready to, pay attention to today's lecture, and this kind of forum. I'm so happy that a lot of persons are actually online for this, lecture. On behalf of the section chair, Mr. Tammy Biambo, and also our program chair, as Dr. Adetona, and our section secretary, Mrs. Tessie Baga, and the YP chair. I don't know if he's still with us online. That's the person of Mr. AB. I really want to, especially welcome all of you. Okay, and today's topic is actually a well-refined one. It's actually talking about the demystifying of the roles of reservoir engineering in carbon dioxide sequestration. And I just want us to pay attention to this topic because we thereby understand what the reservoir duty is all about, especially in how you can actually safeguard and also control this CO2 in the subsurface. How you can actually do some reservoir characterizations, knowing how these you definitely know how these topics can actually be properly explained. So I just want everybody to just pay attention because I know the speaker is going to do a lot on this one. That's Mr. Emmanuel Okpu. Yes, that's one of our YP member. YP, yeah, YP share, I guess so. I guess YP share. So please let us please pay attention, okay? All right. I guess I'm going to stop here so that the next person will take over. Thank you, Emmanuel Okpu, for being with us.
Wow, that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Anthony. That was very insightful. Up next, we have Kelly Balaye for the icebreaker session. Kelly, please, are you with us? Kelly
Yes, I'm
Balaye,
with
are
you
you with
guys.
us?
Yes, I'm with you guys. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Jose, for what you're doing. Thank you, our YP chair, for the nice talk, and thank you for the speaker who is here with us. So next on our agenda is the icebreaker section. I will be taking you guys to the icebreaker section. And please, can you go to the next slide? So I'll be asking you guys a few questions, right? Let's all be active. Let's all answer this question, right? With originality. You get, don't lie. So my first question is Which city or state are you joining from? Please, you can type in your answers on the chat box. So I'll give you guys like, let me say 4 minutes. 4 minutes is even too much. Let me just say 30 seconds. It's not much. Just type it in the chat box. So I'll be reading out the answers. Which city state are you joining from? Please. Okay. I'm saying Abuja, Akwa Ibom. Wow, Abuja, that is nice. From Emmanuel, William said Akwa Ibom. Ahmad said Abuja. Okay. Anyone? Oh, we should go to the next question. Okay. Juliana said Port Harcourt, River State. She goes here, Abuja. That is nice. Okay, please go to the next question. Next question, please. Goje, please, next question. Okay, I think he's having network difficulties. Let me ask from my hand. Okay, it's showing now. So the next question is which SP chapter do you represent? Which SP chapter do you represent? Please write it in the chat box. Okay, so William said PTI. Okay. Okay, Ahmad said Nile chapter. Okay, Emmanuel said Kufri. That is nice. That is nice. We have a lot here. Okay, people said Redeemers University. Christabel, wow, we have Novena chapter here. That is really nice. That's really nice. Wow. So okay, she goes there now. Okay. Please, the next question. Let's go on. So my number 3 question, or the third question. She goes there, I'm waiting. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how eager are you to graduate from school? For me, it's 10%. I won't lie. For me, it's 10. So, me, it's 10. If the scale can even go up to 100, I'll even say 100. Please, your answers from a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, William said 10. Okay. Who else? Who else? Like me, I will say 100. I won't mind. Christopher said 20. That is nice. People said 10. Okay. Ahmad said 10 axis. Oh, Samuel said 2. Wow. So you don't want to leave school? No, you're enjoying. That is nice. That is nice. Wow. Okay. Any more? So let's move to the next question. Let's move to the next question. Ahmad, sorry, Chigozie. Okay. So what's okay, I'm not seeing the question properly. I'm having a black screen covering it. Okay, yeah. What's your current academic discipline? Your current academic discipline. Please type it in. Please type it in. I'm waiting. Okay, William said petroleum engineering, Samuel petroleum engineering, Christabel said computer science, Ahmad petroleum and gas engineering. Okay, any more? Pivot said mechanical engineering. Okay, Emmanuel said petroleum engineering. That is nice. We have engineers in this house. Oh God. Anyone said petroleum engineering. Okay. That is really nice. That is nice. So we have all engines in this house. Okay, so the last question for the day. Can you please give us the last question for the day? Okay. So in one word, oh, that is nice. In one word, describe your expectation from this program. In just one word. One word. It shouldn't be much. Just type one thing. What's your expectation from this program? Okay, let the answer start flying in. I'm expecting you guys to say something. Just in one word. What are your expectations? Describe it. Just describe your expectation from this program. Okay, William said redefining. Wow, that is nice. Wow. Okay, Ahmad said friends and sustainability. Whoa, that is okay. Still expecting more answers, just in one word. One word. I'm expecting answer, please. I think is it just two people that want to describe their expectation? No, we have more. Please describe your expectation. What do you expect? What do you expect from this program, please? Just in one word. You're not typing more. Just one word. Just one word. Describe your expectation. Okay. You got certainly insightful. That is nice. Okay. Since there's no more replies, I will say this is the end of the icebreaker section. It was really, really nice, really fun, right? Especially at the beginning, you guys were answering like back to back. That was nice. That was nice. Okay, guys. See ya. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Gozier. Please, you can go on.
Wow, Kelly, that was wonderful. I think my favorite part was when he said we have engines. Really have engineers in this place. So I feel like we can shake the country. I mean, Nigeria can become better. I mean, can't it? Does anybody agree with me? We can shake the nation, right? Please, I need answers, please. We can shake the nation, right? Okay, wow, that was wonderful. So next off, we have the main event. Our guest speaker is about to come on. So I would like to call on the next speaker to introduce our guest speaker. Please, is she around?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we
Yes, we
can hear
can.
you. Please go on.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, am I still audible? Because I'm having network issues.
Yes, you are very audible. We can hear
Okay.
you.
Emmanuel Okpu is a graduate of petroleum engineering from the Federal University of Petroleum Resources, EFRUN, and a pioneering researcher with a passion for sustainable solutions. His research interests cut across carbon capture, utilization and storage (CCUS), geothermal solutions, AI-driven data analytics, hydrogen and production engineering. He has led various transformative research projects, including underground CO2 storage, modeling with Eclipse, marginal field development using emerging technologies, and evaluation of smart well completion technologies. He is also a recipient of the 2024 FXB Climate Advocate Scholarship Program, United States of America. His intellectual drive has garnered him well-deserved recognition, including winning the 2022 African Regional Petro Quiz Competition, finishing first runner-up in the 2023 Regional Petro Quiz Contest, and clinching the third place prize in the 2024 Petrol Bowl International Tournament. He is also a DM Sheffield awardee and has received the Award of Honor by the Nigerian Society of Engineers (NSE) FUPRE chapter, amongst others. Emmanuel likes coding, public speaking, listening to music, and reading. He is also an environmentalist and an active member of the Society of Petroleum Engineers (SPE) and the Nigeria Gas Association (NGA). Can we all please welcome Emmanuel Okpu to us, our well-esteemed guest, IT Officer Alex Charis Gas Limited. Please let's all welcome Emmanuel Okpu.
Hello, everyone. Um, I don't know if you can hear me. Um, Good evening to everyone on the call, and thank you very much for this opportunity to speak and to lecture on a topic I'm very passionate about. Very excited to have everyone here on the call. I mean, within such short notice, we have this number. It's impressive. it shows the drive that we have. Please, can we confirm that I'm being heard, please, before I continue? Um,
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
all right, all right. Thank you very much for that confirmation. So, as I was saying, it's very impressive that we have young professionals like myself and every other person on the call who is enthusiastic about energy transition technologies and the opportunities that avail us as petroleum engineers and um, any course that we are studying, the opportunities are enormous in the energy transition space and also in the energy sector as a whole. So without further ado, I will be moving straight to my presentation. It's a little lengthy because it's a lengthy topic. I pray we cover as much as we can during the time given. And if we can't cover everything on any question, any small clarification that any one of us might need here, you can always reach me personally and we will discuss on that. So with the permission of the host, I would like to share my screen. So I don't know if I can be made a co-host so that I can do that.
Okay, sir, you can.
Okay.
I've made you a co-host, sir.
All right. I've seen that. Thank you very much, Chigozie. Uh, Okay, so going straight, going straight to so I don't know if we can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Quite. It's a little uh, slideshow. How about now? Can we see my screen very fully?
Copy that. Please move them.
Hello, please, can we confirm that we can see my screen?
Mm,
No, I cannot.
No, we can't. Chicos,
No,
Chicos, can you hear
yes,
me? Please make
yes,
him
I
a
can.
host. Please give him a host.
Yes.
And after that, you can speak it out. Thank you.
Okay, let me make you a host.
Okay, so let me just share the entire screen. So I believe we can see my screen now.
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay, so thank you very much. So yeah, as we know today, we'll be looking at demystifying the role of reservoir engineering and in CO2 sequestration. And just very quickly, I don't know, this might sound pretty recent. It might sound, so I know one of us or some of us on the call might have heard about CO2 sequestration before. And I expect that you all will learn at least a thing or two uh, during the session today. So for our outline, we'll be looking at the introduction. Why do we need CO2 sequestration? Why is it important at this point in time? We also look at some other low carbon solution alternative. Then we look at CCUS in details. We conclude, and then we take questions. So for the introduction, why do we need you know, we've been hearing about renewables, energy transition. Why is that needed? Like, so I mean, I was expecting that by now a lot of persons would be asking, Why is the reason for this entire energy buzz in recent time? Well, to start with, we need to go back. We need to understand what global energy security is, and it's rather painful that we're talking about transition of renewables, or renewables coming into the global energy mix, not because of we want to expand our energy choices, but because of a more pressing issue that we're experiencing, which is global warming. So while we are trying to improve our energy mix, it's not because our current energy sources are limited. There are several billion barrels of crude oil, of natural gas resource untapped yet, but we need these new emerging technologies just because of the threats to our climate and our world as a whole. But when we're talking about global energy security, the International Energy Agency defined it as, the uninterrupted availability of energy sources at an affordable price, right? And it's very important that we have energy security, because energy rules the world, right? Nigeria is kind of like an impoverished state where we are right now, mainly because of our energy access, and the same thing goes across so many African countries. If we spread our energy alternative, we are bound to have energy security, right? Talking about energy security, we like to look at some energy sources. The fossil fuel that we all know, coal, oil, and gas. A lot of petroleum engineers on the call, and that's your fossil. But we have, emerging energy technologies like nuclear, we have biofuel, we have wind, we have hydrogen, we have solar, we have electric vehicles, we have geothermal, and a whole lot of them. And as I said, most of these new energy sources, they are not new, but we are just prioritizing them now because of the threats to our planet. Okay. So, the next thing we have to do is to look at what global warming is, right? So why is there need to prioritize our energy sources? And it's simply because of global warming. What is global warming? So global warming just refers to the increase in surface temperature of the earth, right? So the increase in surface temperature of the earth, right? And this is usually caused by greenhouse gases. When we talk about greenhouse gases, these are gases that absorb the sunlight, the rays, right, the UV rays from the sunlight, and prevent them and traps them. So they have these trapping mechanisms that trap them to the Earth's atmosphere and prevent them from going back to space. That's frequent trapping of the heat from the sun keeps the Earth warmer, and we have all seen the effect of an increasing Earth temperature, surface temperature. We're talking about wildfires outbreak, rising sea levels. We're talking about melting glaciers and a whole lot of catastrophic events that rhymes with our global warming issues. And just to the chart, to my right, this chart shows the average surface temperature, right, of the Earth compared to pre-industrial era, right? So the pre-industrial era before the Industrial Revolution, you can see the Earth surface temperature. So if we pick maybe 2000 and 2000, you can see that 2000, the charts here is 2000, in 2000 is showing you the average temperature of the Earth in comparison to the average of the entire pre-industrial era, that is between 1880 to 1960, or to 1981 rather, where our pre-industrial era ended. And if you could see, just after, let's say, 2000, you can see a rise in our Earth average and temperature relative to the pre-industrial era. And we are not talking about 0.2%, degrees Celsius. We're talking about degrees Celsius of above 1, right? And it's a call for concern. 2023 recorded the warmest year ever, with an average of 1.48 degrees Celsius. which is just mind-blowing to think about it. And it broke the previous recorded hottest year, which was in 2016. Don't forget that in 2021, we also had, temperatures at as high as 0.84 degrees Celsius. And just in between 2021 that we're seeing is one of the hottest years. We were recording 0.84 degrees Celsius average. And in 2023, we are recording 1.18 degrees Celsius average if you are looking at it across the average pre-industrial era. And then the actual average temperature itself is 1.48 degrees Celsius. If you're familiar with the Paris Agreement, right, we have the Paris Agreement signed in 2015. We have all countries or most of the United Nations countries come up to sign nationally determined contributions, NDCs, that seek to set the surface temperature of the Earth below 2 degrees Celsius and preferably below 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2050. And we are still way very far from 2050, and we are having temperatures 1.48 degrees Celsius. It's actually a lot, and we need to take action. That is the reason why topics like this are coming up. So, what are greenhouse gas emission? Greenhouse gas emission is simply the accumulation of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That accumulation absorbs the heat which would have otherwise returned to space, right? So, when we're talking about carbon dioxide here, carbon dioxide is not the only greenhouse gas, right, that we have, but it's the major culprit. So if you come to my chart over here, you can see the 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 contribution of carbon dioxide in 2019, and these have increased. I think in 2022 we had it from 64% that we have in 2019 to 65%, right? Carbon dioxide from fossils, and we also have carbon dioxide from land use, attributing to 11%. Then we have methane at 18% rather. So methane and fluorinated gas, nitrous oxide, they are all greenhouse gases. But the reason why the debate, why the whole news, why everything is being focused on carbon dioxide is because of, it's the most duty gas of them all, right? If you look at the percentage. But I want you to note that this percentage is not a linear relationship. So though we have maybe 4% for fluorinated gases, 2% for fluorinated gases, maybe 4% for nitrous oxide, 18% for methane. It doesn't mean it's the same 18% for methane that is the same for carbon dioxide. Methane has more deadly impact. The impact of the gas is more deadly than that of carbon dioxide. So the 18% for methane might mean about maybe 30 or 35%, concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, right? But just from the look, carbon dioxide is the most guilty gas, and that is why we are looking at that. So this map also here shows us, the cumulative CO2 emissions since the 1850, right? And in relative to the average global surface temperature. And if you can see up to 2023 or 2020, we had a linear relationship because we knew the cumulative CO2 emitted, but from that point, the rest are just, projections. So we have different models that have projected what is going to look like, and that's what you're seeing here, different models projecting the cumulative CO2 emission to the rise in global surface temperature. If we look at this, you can as well project how much CO2 you need to emit at this point before we reach 2 degrees Celsius. If I draw a line from the 2 degrees and draw it to hit any of these predictions, right, I can trace that down and see how much more CO2 we need to emit to the atmosphere before, by the predictions of any of these models, we get to 2 degrees Celsius. We know how much we are producing now, and then if we subtract what we need to produce by how much we've produced to this point, we get the tentative CO2 brackets that we need to produce, and it's very small, right? It's very small, meaning we need to cut down on our CO2 emissions, right? And it's the reason why we are having this topic. So we're looking at the recent trend in energy demands. So we can see that global energy demand increased by around 30 joules exajoules rather in 2023. So regardless of the fact that we're trying to cut emissions, we're trying to reduce our carbon footprint, we are still also having a high energy demand. So the use of this renewable or alternative energy solution should have been instead to combat the high energy demand, but we're trying to cut down on fossils. And even the fossils is not yet enough for what we have, because we're seeing energy demand increasing globally by 2% in 2023. We saw global oil demand increase from 2 million barrels per day to 99 million barrels per day in 2023 alone. It shows that fossils is still very much integral in the energy mix. And the best we can do as petroleum engineers is to find a way to deliver those fossils in an environmental friendly manner. We also have, with the almost inevitable presence of fossil fuel, even after 2050, better technologies must be available to reduce our carbon footprint. All countries have promised to reduce their greenhouse gas emission, but promises are one thing and actions are actually another thing. What actions have we been taking since the Paris Agreement in 2015? We have had the APS scenario, the STEP scenarios, and the NCE scenarios, which are like the net zero scenarios. So the apps are actually the announced pledges scenarios. The steps are the stated policy scenarios. So you look at the announced pledges. Countries come, make pledges, will cut off carbon footprint by this, but are they implemented these policies to actually do that is one thing we need to look at. So if we need to cut down our carbon footprint by a large percentage to meet our target of 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2050, a lot of work still has to be done. So we're looking at low carbon solutions. One way we can work in cutting our carbon footprint is by investing in low carbon solutions, right? The IPCC, which is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, advised that to avert the dire implications of climate change, innovations must accelerate rapidly, meaning government must invest, on research and development. And you look at our country, and it's pathetic to see that the research environment it's very limited, right? That is the core to averting, the dire consequences of climate change. What is climate technology? Simply a broad term that explicitly focus on addressing greenhouse gas emissions. We've said that before. These technologies may be in form of renewable energy sources or CCUS. So CCUS simply just means carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration, or carbon capture, usage, and storage. So we'll see it in a few minutes, what it implies. So when we're talking about low carbon solution, we are talking about either renewable energy or CCUS. So CCUS does not provide energy, but what it does is to help us, either reduce our carbon footprint by either preventing new emissions to the atmosphere or even recovering former emissions that have been already emitted to the atmosphere. We can capture the gas right in the atmosphere right now. We can capture the CO2 and reduce. So that is like negative emission. You're reducing, you're not even emitting, you're trying to capture the already emitted carbon since the pre-industrial era up to the industrial revolution and all that. So the key advancement of climate technologies, you can see that clean energy growth has doubled that of fossil since 2019. So the growth in clean energy has doubled that of the growth in fossil. But the percentage that clean energy, counters in the energy demand is still very low. Though there is an increase in the clean energy, alternative, we've not been able to phase out fossils. And it's not going to happen overnight. Fossils are still going to be here for a very, very long time. especially for developing countries like ours who have little research and development budgets. We're still going to bank very much on fossils, and that is why we need to look for a way to deliver our fossils much more environmentally friendly. So we can say that global energy and global clean energy investment rose by 50% since 2019 and is projected to reach $2 trillion in 2024. But we need 4.5 trillion by 2030, right, in investment of funds for clean energy. Deployment, the issue for clean energy is that the deployment still remains concentrated in some particular regions, right? We're talking about the China, the USA of this world, and then you come to Africa and there's really maybe nothing being done as far as clean energy is concerned, right? And in the steps, as I said, the steps is the stated policy scenarios, which is the actual scenario that is happening now. So there's the announced pledge scenarios is what could happen if all the pledges that was announced, right, during the COPs are actually implemented. And there's the net zero scenario or net zero emission scenario. That scenario talks about what you need to do in order to have zero emissions by 2050. So in these steps, CO2 emissions are projected to reach 6.5 gigatons, right? Lower in 2030 than in 2015. And then than in 2015 where the Paris Agreement was signed. And then in the the announced pledges scenario, the deployment of 7 key clean energy technologies are crucial, right, in reducing about three-quarter of our energy related CO2 emissions. This clean energy includes solar, photovoltaic, wind energy, or wind power, nuclear, EVs, electric vehicles, your heat pumps, which is also your geothermal, right? Your low emission hydrogen as well as carbon capture. So we're briefly going to look at each of these energy sources. We're talking about solar, right? We all know what solar is. It's the energy from the radiation of the sun, right? When sun is radiated to can capture that energy, harness it, and use it to satisfy our energy needs. Now, solar energy is very massive, right? And if properly harnessed, it can potentially satisfy all our future energy needs. But we have um, the technology restraint as far as solar energy is concerned, and the huge investments required for solar energy. Um, Hydrogen. So you can produce hydrogen from solar. So the hydrogen that is produced from either directly from splitting solar directly and splitting solar water directly or from electricity is called yellow hydrogen. You will see the hydrogen colors in a few moments. So this just talks about the growth of solar energy. So we are expecting to if we implement the net zero emissions, we're expecting to produce about 12,000 gigawatts of power from solar energy. If all the announced pledge scenarios, we are going to do so photovoltaic cell at this point, 30 million volt unit and all that. If all the announced pledges scenarios stay, we'll be doing about a little north of 10,000 gigawatts, right, of energy from solar by 2035. And if we remain at our stated policies, which is what is currently on ground, we'll be in about 8,500 gigawatts of solar energy by 2025. By 2035. And then we look at wind energy. So wind energy is, simply the energy derived by harnessing the power of the wind, right, through wind turbine. So the wind energy technology has gone from traditional windmill to massive wind turbines, right, that rotate and captures this energy. So what the constraints we have in some of this energy sources or alternative, you're looking at the storage, right? So because of this storage concern, we need to convert this energy to storable energy sources that we can use for future use. One disadvantage of wind energy is the large space it occupies, right? The wind farms occupies an enormous amount of land. And this is just an offshore wind farm. You're saying we have a lot of wind um, offshore. So we have offshore wind farms that kind of harness this wind energy and drive this turbine to produce electricity, right? We saw that global wind power rose over 50% in 2023, reaching 1116 gigawatts, and China led that growth. From that 1116 gigawatts that was made in 2023, China contributed 76 gigawatts, which account for almost 66% of the global addition, right? We look at nuclear. So nuclear also is also a very promising energy source, right? Clean energy alternative. Just a very small piece of uranium, it's sufficient to serve your energy needs for life, because we know uranium, does what we call half cells regeneration, and nuclear energy is, formed from nuclear fission. So the source of nuclear of energy can be produced in two ways: either fission, when the nucleus of atoms splits, or fusion. So nuclear fusion to generate electricity is still pretty much on the R&D phase. But currently, nuclear fission is what we use in generating electricity as far as nuclear energy is concerned. The major drawback for nuclear energy, as I said, will remain the environmental risk and concerns it places, because a single accident, a single a single accident in a nuclear power plant can be very, very catastrophic to human life as well as the environment, right? We're talking about radiation, and it's not a good kind of thing to want to experience. So you're looking at when there is a fossil loss of containment, when there is a blowout, lives may be lost, or spillage may occur, but then the spillage can easily be cleaned, it can easily be contained. An explosion in a nuclear power plant can cause, damage for centuries to come. And that is why nuclear energy has received a lot of backlash, but it's a very, very good alternative and very clean energy alternative as well. So we'll look at hydrogen as well. So hydrogen is a clean fuel that, when consumed in a fuel cell, produces only water. Now, we are seeing hydrogen-powered vehicles right now, and it's very good because hydrogen is that go-to energy storage unit for a lot of these other energy sources that we've looked at. You cannot store wind energy for quite a long time, but you can use it to generate electricity and use that electricity to split water by electrolysis, right? And then when you split water by electrolysis, you get hydrogen and oxygen, and then you produce hydrogen, which is liquid, which you can go to an hydrogen refilling station and just buy hydrogen into your fuel cell electric vehicle, the way you stop into a gas station and fill your tank. And that is where hydrogen has that edge. You derive hydrogen from solar, from wind, from nuclear, or you can produce hydrogen. So hydrogen production is, in three major ways: either through gasification, right? Gasification of coal. We produce hydrogen from coal and biomass. We also have hydrogen production by SMR, which is steam methane reforming. So steam methane reforming involves the reaction of methane with steam at high temperatures, right? In the presence of a catalyst, to break down methane with water, and then you get, hydrogen and carbon dioxide as the byproducts. But the issue with steam methane reforming is that you are still producing carbon dioxide. The reason why this entire whole thing has started from the get-go. But the good thing about that is that you can easily capture that carbon you've produced, unlike other energy sources that is much more difficult to capture the carbon. So when you have steam methane reforming integrated with carbon capture, that hydrogen produces blue hydrogen, right? Whereas if it's not incorporated with carbon capture, I think it's gray hydrogen. Then you also have the cleanest hydrogen color, which is green hydrogen, formed by the electrolysis of water, so splitting water into the components. But this is a very high, energy reaction, and it requires very high energy to complete, which brings us back to the cost. And then, as I said, we'll see the colors of hydrogen. So when we see colors of hydrogen, hydrogen is a colorless, gas, but these colors are just theoretical to just tell you the source of that hydrogen, how that hydrogen was formed. So if you see a hydrogen, if an hydrogen is formed from electrolysis of water, splitting water into this component of hydrogen and oxygen, that hydrogen that is formed is green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is the purest form of hydrogen, no CO2 involved, no carbon dioxide, just hydrogen and water. You announce the hydrogen and then, I mean, just hydrogen and oxygen rather. So when you split water, but as I said, it's very energy intensive, and that is the reason why electrolysis splitting of water is at a very low point. We also have blue hydrogen, which is from steam methane reforming. Um, the reaction of methane with hydrogen at at very high temperatures and in the presence of a catalyst. When you have carbon capture incorporated with steam methane, you produce blue hydrogen. When you don't have carbon capture, you have you know gray hydrogen, and you also produce hydrogen from methane through what we call methane pyrolysis. That hydrogen form is stock waste. We won't have the time to dive into that. We also have gasification of coal, that's brown hydrogen, and gasification of black coal will give you black hydrogen. So these are much more dirty, hydrogen sources because the CO2 is still there, and as well nuclear, which is pink hydrogen, and then naturally occurring hydrogen found underground. So I know Stanford did a research recently on naturally occurring hydrogen, and we are gaining traction on the fact that hydrogen can occur naturally underground, and if you get that hydrogen, it's termed white hydrogen. So this is just the color spectrum for hydrogen. Talk about geothermal. Geothermal is the heat source from the earth, right? Um, when you drilling, just the way you drill into the earth, temperature in the earth increases as you go downhole, and then you drill to temperatures that are very hot. You harness that steam and use it to drive your turbine. So that is simply just geothermal. You have your traditional geothermal system. This is looking for a hot source, right? Like maybe a geyser, a hot spring, and you necessarily are not drilling in a traditional geothermal system, but you're just trying to harness that hot spring, volcanic environment and all that. But for closed loop geothermal system and enhanced geothermal system, you're drilling, you're doing the Sage Huff and Puff method is a whole lot. So I should be coming to talk about geothermal energy in a few months. So I mean, you can look forward to that as well. So what are the considerations that we look at when choosing energy sources? The first thing we look at is cost, right? We want to make profit. In as much as we care much for the environment, these people who are bringing these technologies, they thought about it. It's a product of several years of hard work. So they need to be paid for it. They need to benefit from what they've researched on, and that is the cost of the energy technology. You also need to look at the storage consign, the scalability, how much can you scale it, and as well as the environmental impact. Here's a slide talking about the cost. So, and all that. I mean, I can share this slide. When we're looking at the cost, we're talking about the levelized cost of energy, right? It's a crucial metric for assessing the economic viability. When we're talking about alternative energy sources, we look at two major things, which is the levelized cost of energy and the levelized cost of storage, right? So, to the main business of the day, we spent quite a time. We're looking at CCUS, right? Carbon capture is a process by which carbon dioxide from industrial installation is separated before it's released into the atmosphere. So, we have two types of carbon capture usage and sequestration, two types of CCUS. You have the main CCS, which is carbon capture storage, which is just this definition I explained here. And then you have what we call CDR. CDR is carbon dioxide removal. So CCS aims to capture the carbon from the point source. When we're talking about point source, we're talking about the industry, we're talking about the gas plants, we're talking about the oil refineries, right? To capture that carbon before it even gets to the atmosphere, right? And then either use it for carbon related uses like, carbonated drinks, in plastic making, and in a whole lot of other things, or in most cases, to store the carbon permanently on the ground. Now, what CDR does, CDR is, which is carbon dioxide removal, is a process in which carbon dioxide is removed from the atmosphere deliberately. So we deliberately remove it by human activities and also stored in geological or terrestrial environment. So it's when we say we deliberately, as simple as planting of trees is a form of carbon dioxide removal because we know that trees would absorb the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, right, and use it for photosynthesis. And although it absorbs just a very, very minute amount, it's also a way of limiting or reducing the carbon footprint. But majorly, when we talk about CDR, we're talking about direct air capture, right? So direct air capture is you capturing the carbon from the air directly, right? And when you capture it, then you can store it, right? You can store it in underground formation or use it in EOR processes. So we also have bioenergy with carbon capture. So when you produce bioenergy and you capture the carbon that is supposed to be released, is also a form of carbon capture as well. So we're looking at direct air capture now, right? Direct air capture is the use of chemicals or physical process to extract carbon dioxide directly from the ambient air. So from this picture, there are three phases involved in direct air capture. We're talking about the contacting stage, where where you drag air through your absorber, right? Air is contacted through the absorber, and then you have a CO2 absorber in your equipment that you use. And that CO2 absorber, you have maybe a solvent there, like your caustic soda or your sodium hydroxide, that reacts with the air and strips off the CO2 component from the air, and it gives you carbon bicarbonate, which is an Na2CO3. By causticization, you have your carbon trioxocarbonate is released. That trioxocarbonate is sent to the steam dryer, where it removes it reacts with steam, and you have quicklime produced. And at that point, you have your CO2 leaves the trioxocarbonate compound, and then it's sent to the compressor, where it's compressed to a supercritical fluid and sent in for transport. It's a whole lot diagram here, maybe a little bit above the scope of our topic right now, and we'll just leave that at that. More recently, this Ireland-based company has brought out a claim that they've developed an equipment called the mechanical tree that can directly collect carbon, right, straight from the wind. So you don't need to go through this process. It has not been completely proven, but we are still looking at that as a means of removing the carbon dioxide from the air and then ensuring that our temperature drops. So the next thing is carbon capture and sequestration. As I said, it's different from carbon dioxide removal, where you have maybe anything you are doing to remove carbon that has already been emitted to the atmosphere. Carbon capture and sequestration talks about you capturing the carbon before it gets to the atmosphere, which is what we're looking at here. By July, we have in 2024, we have about 44 carbon capture and sequestration plants worldwide. 16 of those plants are capturing carbon dioxide from natural gas processes, 7 of them from hydrogen formation. If you remember, I said when you're producing hydrogen from steam methane reforming, carbon dioxide is produced alongside. When you capture that carbon, that's when it's blue hydrogen. When you don't capture the carbon, it is gray hydrogen. So those plants that capture carbon from hydrogen or ammonia formation, there are 7 of them. Chemical production, 7 of them as well, and 2 plants operating from oil processes. As of 2024, the oil and gas industry is involved in 90% of CCS capacity in the operation, which is a good thing to say that we are taking carbon capture very serious in the oil and gas industry, and it's a good alternative for us. I mean, it's just the technology and the cost of the technology that is the major drawback. So when looking at carbon capture separation, you're looking at it in 3 phases. You can you can capture your carbon, you can capture the carbon dioxide pre-combustion. So here you partially oxidize the fuel, right? And you set the fuel to steam boilers, and in the presence of nitrogen, you capture your carbon, and then the flue gas is left. And you also have oxy-combustion. So oxy-combustion is burning it in additional oxygen, right? Burning your carbon dioxide in additional oxygen just to be able to capture the carbon. We also have post-combustion. These are methods of capturing the carbon dioxide before they are released to the atmosphere. So looking at carbon dioxide capturing, we need to understand the property of the fluid we're talking about here. When we understand the property of the fluid, we can better understand how to store this fluid, where to store this fluid, how to capture this fluid, how to transport this fluid, right? So as we all know, carbon dioxide is a colorless and odorless gas. It's relatively non-toxic, right, and non-combustible, which is very good for us when we're talking about storage and transportation concern, because since it's non-combustible, we have a limited risk, right? It's also non-toxic, although it's a bit corrosive, right? But it's non-toxic, it's an acidic gas, hence it's corrosive, right? In at its supercritical state, it has a very low viscosity. That is why it's a very good, additive in EOR processes, enhanced oil recovery, where you need to inject CO2 into the oil to reduce the viscosity of the oil. Because it's a low viscosity fluid, it goes down there and lowers the viscosity of the oil, making that oil that was not able to flow less viscous and allows for flow. About 80% of carbon that are captured are returned back for EOR projects. So a supercritical fluid has a low viscosity, high diffusivity, and high density, right? So you can look at temperatures of minus 56.4 degrees Celsius and about 11, atmospheric pressure. The carbon dioxide behave as the both phase, right? It's at the triple points. And then just at temperatures of 31 degrees Celsius and 73 ATM, you are the critical states of the carbon dioxide. At the critical point, any increase in the temperature or pressure makes this a supercritical fluid. And supercritical fluid is the phase between liquid and gas. And that is the way carbon dioxide exists in a supercritical state. It also dissolves non-polar and weakly polar materials, which is why it's a very good alternative. I mean, it's very good to save to be stored in saline water, because it's going to dissolve in there as a polar solvent, right? And be permanently stored, even though the solution could take millions and millions or thousands and hundreds of years. So let's talk about underground CO2 storage now. Underground CO2 storage involves injecting, captured carbon into deep geologic formations below 800 meters. So you're looking at formation way below 800 meters. You don't store your CO2 anywhere above 800 meters because of the leakage concern, right? Because of the leakage concern, loss of containment. And there are three key characteristics you should think about when talking about, oh, my time, okay. I'm trying to round up. So when talking about this storage, you have the capacity, how much CO2 can be stored in that formation. You also have asked about the injectivity. So this is where you do your step rate test, your fall-off test. This is where the reservoir that we're talking about is involved. We all know what our fall-off test is in reservoir engineering, our injectivity test, our fracture test, to determine the injection rates of our carbon, right, that we want to store into the underground formation. We also look at the containment. Do we have a fractured rock? Has the seal of that rock been compromised? Especially when we talk about storage in depleted reservoirs, right? So these are different places where you can store your carbon underground. We can store carbon in saline aquifers, right? So we know what aquifers are. Aquifers are a large pool of water bodies that exist in deep geologic formations just below your reservoir, right? So you can inject your carbon dioxide from the surface deep into the aquifer, and then by high injection rate compresses that water. We are injecting it as a supercritical fluid, so it's not completely in the gaseous phase, right? But in a phase that is between gaseous and liquid phase, and it can compress that water body, stays there in the aquifer, and then through a process of dissolve or dissolution process, dissolves alongside the water body, and then you have a single phase of your carbon dioxide in the water. That is going to take thousands of years, right? We also have storage in depleted oil and gas reserve. I mean, this is the best option for us, although saline aquifers provide more storage capacity, but depleted oil and gas reserves are important because we know this oil and gas field. We know these reservoirs. We've depleted the reservoirs. There's enough geologic data. There's enough seismic data. There's enough understanding of that reservoir. And because that reservoir has been depleted and no longer contains oil or gas, you cannot inject carbon dioxide into the reservoir, right, through injection wells in the surface. And the good thing is that the infrastructure is already there. There's a production well already there that is used in depleting the reservoir. So you can either convert that production well to an injection well, or you might even be so lucky that that particular reservoir you needed to carry out secondary recovery processes on that one. Maybe you drilled some injection well to water flood. So you already have injection wells, and then you use those injection wells, inject the CO2 into the formation, right? There's also researches on mineable coal seam, where you're talking about coal bed methane, and also even in basalt formation, capturing CO2 in carbonate rocks, right? So you're looking at depleted oil and gas reserve. I picked out this specifically because we are mostly petroleum engineers here. So you see CO2 being injected from the surface, right? Being injected from the surface and trapped in the reservoir. The reservoir still have the seal. You have your rocks. I mean, you have your wells. It's either you've plugged and abandoned your wells, or you have your valves that you can easily just open and close. I hope you know that we also store natural gas the same way, or a similar way, the way we store CO2. The difference is in the composition of the gas, so it kind of limits the way we store them. But we store natural gas in depleted reservoirs. We also store natural gas in aquifers. So the advantage of storing your CO2 in depleted reservoirs, like I said, good sealing performance. We've already had a good reservoir characterization already, existing infrastructure, and all that. So this map here shows the amount of total storage across the world in different locations, right? In different locations. So the ones in green have about 50 to 100 underground storage locations for carbon dioxide, while those that are blue have about over 100 storage locations, while those in light blue, while those in dark blue have about 20 to 50. Those in red, which is Africa, we have no storage unit for carbon dioxide for now. All right. So when we're talking about storage of carbon dioxide in the reservoir, we need to understand what a reservoir is, right? We need to know what the reservoir is. All petroleum engineers in the call can define a reservoir. It's just the porous and permeable, rock formation that allows hydrocarbon to be contained in that reservoir. So the hydrocarbon moves from the source rock to the reservoir where it's trapped, and by a cap rock and by lateral seals. The element that must be present for a depleted reservoir to store CO2, that reservoir must still maintain its porosity, because the CO2 are going to still be stored in the pore spaces. So those pore spaces of the rock that was previously occupied by oil, by gas, would now be occupied by CO2. When the CO2 is injected at very high pressure, below the fracture pressure, it displaces the water that have occupied those pore spaces by reason of the oil and gas being depleted, that is being produced, and then pushes the water back and occupies those pore spaces. It also needs to have permeability. There needs to be a cap rock to prevent the escape of the CO2, and also a trap, right? There also needs to be a trap to keep the CO2 in place. And also relative permeability of the rock is the one thing you need to look at. So when we're talking about the trapping mechanism of CO2 in the geologic formation, we're talking about 4 types of trapping mechanism. Sorry, I might be shouting. I don't know. It's raining heavily where I am, so I needed to shout to dissolve the noise I'm hearing from the rain. So there's structural trapping, right? So what structural trapping does is that gaseous CO2 that has been injected, it traps it through the rock formation. Structural trapping is the reservoir rock we are talking about. That cap rock provides a structure to keep the CO2 safe. You can see my diagram here. You can see CO2 trapped in the reservoir rock, right? That's a form of trapping or trapping mechanism that CO2 undergoes when in depleted reservoirs. There's also residual trapping. So what residual trapping does is that now this might be, I mean, if we go back to our petroleum, we know what residual oil is, or residual gas. Residual saturation is that saturation that for all purpose will not flow. So before any fluid will flow, it needs to overcome its residual saturation and get to a saturation known as the critical saturation before that fluid would flow, right? So residual saturation is a form of saturation in which the carbon dioxide is not, the saturation of the carbon dioxide is not sufficient enough to allow it to flow. So it's just going to remain in the pore spaces of the rock because there's not enough saturation for the carbon dioxide to flow. It's a form of trapping mechanism. We also talk about solubility trapping, where the CO2 dissolves into an aqueous phase, right? The water, it dissolves into the water, into an aqueous phase. This might, as I said earlier, take hundreds of years or even thousands of years to complete, where you no longer have a distinct phase between your CO2 and your water or your aqueous phase. We also have mineral trapping. Now, CO2 is an acidic gas, as we said earlier. Depending on the formation structure or the lithology of the formation, you have sandstone formation, you have carbonate formation, you have a whole lot of lithology play going on. So there might be reactions, right? And that reaction might cause minerals to form. So you now have that CO2 store the minerals as a result of, reactions between the rocks. I mean, geologists will know exactly what I'm talking about. So CO2 injection. So aside storage of CO2, right, in the reservoir, we also inject CO2 for EOR purposes. As I said earlier, it typically involves 3 phases: injection of the CO2 through an injection where that CO2 goes, mixes with the oil, forms a mixable phase, and then reduces the viscosity of that oil and allows the oil to flow through a production well, right? Very good for EOR processes. It's usually used in conjunction with water during water flooding. We'll call it WAG, which is water alternating gas. You inject water and then inject gas, which is your CO2. Or you also have SWAG, which is your simultaneous water alternating gas. All right. So talking about this is just reservoir simulation. Again, this is a whole lot. This Eclipse environment at a very good time because I could also take a lecture on how to model CO2 storage facilities using Eclipse. I've done a research of that. Eclipse, there are several softwares to use. A lot of people develop their softwares these days, but Eclipse, gives a very strong software to model CO2 with your CO2 store, your gas source. So CO2 store is designed for modeling CO2 in saline aquifers. So when you're not modeling in depleted reservoirs, if you want to model in aquifers, we use CO2 store. It gives 3 phases, right? 3 distinct phases between the CO2 gas and the aquifer or the water. While gas SWAT is for when you want to store your CO2 in depleted gas reserve, while CO2 sol is for when you want to store your CO2 in depleted oil reservoirs. So these are some models that Eclipse. So I use the SLB software Eclipse for most of my modeling of CO2 storage facilities. As I said, you can always look at that. So there's a lot, that needs to go on, a lot of data you need for just the same data you need for simulation, the lithology, the well depth, the fluid presence, the gas oil contact, the water contact, the depth, the type of well, the geologic, just a whole lot of data that you need, a whole lot of processes. So that is what we have for my end. Thank you very much for listening. I know I took way beyond the time. Apologies for that, and I'm open to questions. Thank you very much.
Very much, sir, for the
So much, Emmanuel. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you for that amazing lecture. Can you hear me?
Yes, Juliana, I can hear you.
Okay, please make me the host. I'll just take off from you. Well done. Please, if you're on the call, just give a virtual check to our speaker. You enlightened us so much. I know that some of us here are not petroleum engineers, but I'm sure that even if you didn't learn anything, at least you learned the renewable energy, the importance. It was just an enlightening session. Thank you so much. And yes, we can't wait to have you here again to teach us more, because yes, we certainly could not have enough of that. All right, so moving on. Let me just share my screen so we can go ahead. Thank you very much. All right. All right, so moving on, we'll be having our question and answer, and this will be taken by Ahmad Babale. He's the head of volunteers at now. Please, if you're on the call, kindly unmute and go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Dina. My name is Ahmad Wabele, taking the Q&A session. Thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful presentation, giving us an overview of the sequestration and starting from information and go to solutions. I believe there are much of speakers, including me, myself, that want questions. Please, our participants, if there's any questions or that you have about this presentation, chat, and that we can present it to the speaker to answer our questions. Yeah, something that much. I believe our speaker is quite knowledgeable in this expert of area. Or you can raise your hand, please, if it's needed.
Yeah,
okay.
Ahmed,
William Okon, please, open your mic for the question.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. You did justice to this topic, and in fact, it was interesting, really interesting. So, okay. So, I'm very much also interested in CCUS and upon CCUS. Please confirm, can see me. I think I'm having a network issue.
Yeah, please go on, please.
Okay. Yes. So, for Mr. Emmanuel, sorry, my question is kind of a little bit like a chain, but then I would like to go straight to the first question, which is with your research on CCUS so far, and in fact, with your research on net zero goals, decarbonization and all of that, what do you think is really the way out here for the energy industry? right now. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. William. Hello, sir. Are you with us?
Yes, I
Yeah,
thank you
yes.
very much,
Thank you very
Mr.
much,
Mr. Williams.
Mr.
I,
Williams.
I, 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 I think maybe we can have
I think
Ife
maybe we
ask
can
his
have if he
question
asks his question
In the
as well,
chat.
so that we just
as
take all
well,
of
so
them
that
at
we
once.
Okay, I believe that will take to more efficient and less time. Please, kindly just drop your question since you say it's kind of a special. Drop it in the chat box so he can answer it once and for all, please. He can do it
Okay.
chronologically. Thank you. And others, please, if you have any other questions that you believe you want to ask, please kindly do so in the chat box here.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed.
I think I'm having
I think I'm having
echo back. I don't know.
Thank you. From here. Maybe it's the network. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Juliana.
Okay. It's kind of better
Okay,
now.
yeah. Yes, it's better now. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Williams, for that amazing question. It's a good one. It's the same question in a lot of energy experts, a lot of people like us who are just uh trying to break into the energy industry and looking at the whole decarbonization, the whole energy transition. What is it for us? What is it for the future of energy? It's a question that you can answer several ways. But one thing that I want to say to that regard is that number one, um, fossils are going nowhere soon, right? Fossils are going nowhere soon, and we need to come to terms with that fact, regardless of how since the COP 15, right? Since 2015, since the COP 20, I can't remember since COP 20 in 2015, where the Paris Agreement was signed, fossils production has only doubled, if not tripled, right? The production. And it's not because these companies want to produce fossils, it's because the energy demand is increasing. And why is the energy demand increasing? It's because the population is increasing, right? Just last year, we hit 8 billion people on Earth. That was just um, that was an additional billion to about 7 billion that we were a decade ago. Those people who are born will need energy. They would need to cook their food. They will need to go to school. They will need to transport themselves. They will need to, that energy demand is increasing. And as a result of that, right? As a result of that, fossil is right now the only reasonable. Now, I might be wrong with my choice of words, but it's the only proven, right, energy source among these so many other sources that can quickly attend to this rising demand, right? So, in as much as all these are going to be on the mix, we wouldn't take away the place of fossil. So, when you have that reality in mind, what else do you think about it? Why don't I produce fossil in a more cleaner way, in a more sustainable way, in a more environmentally friendly way? And that is where topics like CCUS, like geothermal comes in, right? Like steam methane reforming, like natural gas utilization come in. You are no longer largely depending on your oil, which is much more dirtier than gas, but you are transitioning to gas, which has even a more higher potential than oil, but it's much more cleaner, right? And when you are mixing this energy together, you're using fossil that is readily available as a means to transition. That's why it's called energy transition. That's why it's not called energy jump or energy, you know, catapulation or something like that. That's why it's called energy transition, because we are trying to move, we're trying to transition. It's a phase, and until we have had sufficient of these energies, other energy sources, that is when we can easily abandon, right, the fossil. And even in the net zero emission pathway in 2050, fossil fuel is still going to account for largely 40% of the global energy mix, with natural gas accounting for about 28% and oil about 20%. So that's about 48%. But then you're doing it in a cleaner way, not the way you usually used to do it before, not where you flare your gases. You've seen the Nigeria gas flare commercialization program, you've seen the Nigeria gas utilization programs. All these are programs that were not there before, but are there now to still harness our fossils, but in a cleaner and more environmentally friendly way. So I wish I had answered that question.
All right. Thank you. Sorry to cut in here. Please, Mama, you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I can hear you, Mr. Paul.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Julian. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Not.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Julian.
Yeah. Okay, Ahmad, I think we just round up on the question and answer session now. So I believe all the questions can just everyone can just drop their chat. Everyone can just drop their chat. I can do so that I reach out. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Just for the last one.
Good evening. Thank you very much, esteemed speaker, Emmanuel. Thank you, but we are way past our time. Thank you for your contribution. Please, if you have any more questions, drop it on the chat box, and our speaker will do justice to that. For Emmanuel, you can also drop your LinkedIn account for them to follow you, And in the meantime, we'd love to see your beautiful faces, your handsome faces. And by all means, please, you can just open your camera so we can just take a quick photograph. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, so you can open your camera so we get to see your faces. So that we'll take the picture. Okay. Okay, so SP, cleaner energy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, SP, cleaner energy.
SP, cleaner energy.
I can hear you, Malara.
Yeah, SP, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, let me share my screen back so that we can just continue. So moving on, it's our quiz time. I know we've been learning a lot, but it's time for games. Okay, it's time for games. So moving on, it's time for games. And this will be taken by Mario Sunday. There's a YP in SP one. If you're on the call, please say hello to us.
Yeah, hi. Good evening.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't know if it's your network. Please, if you're not speaking, kindly Mute. Afolabi, please, can you mute? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that. Okay. I will stop sharing Sunday now. So you just go ahead and do your thing.
Okay, sorry, can everyone hear me?
Yes. Yes. So Sunday, you are the host now, so you can go ahead.
All right. Okay, so we're about to enter a little, very short quiz. It's just 11 questions. I'm sure most of us is familiar with the Slido quiz. So I'll be sharing my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, you can see.
Okay. So I would also be posting the code to join the Slido quiz on our chat box. So please do well to log in to www.slido.com, slidoquiz.com, and insert the code and join. Then I'm also going to post a direct link to the quiz in case the first method is a little bit hard. So yeah, please, you guys should join in the quiz. I'd like to thank Mr. Emmanuel for his session. I mean, he talked about a lot of things, and he presented a really good simplified slide. So thank you, sir. So please, I'm still waiting for people to join. If you're having difficulty, please let me know. Okay, so I can see William. Please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen, Marlon.
Okay, so we have 2 participants in already. Please, we're 14 in this call. I need more participants. So we're just going to use like 2 minutes for people to join in. And after that, just go ahead with this. So just a sneak peek. The quiz is going to be what you've learned over the presentation, a little bit of general knowledge. Okay, so I can see Jackson. That is sure. I mean, we're 14. I still need more people. Please join in. And if you're having difficulty to participate in this quiz, please let me know so I would help you out. Have a thing. So one more. Let's begin the quiz.
Mariam, please go ahead.
Okay, I should go ahead.
Yes, please.
Okay, so going ahead. Correct answer. So I'll just move on. So can you see the first question? All right, I think before Please, can you see my screen?
Yes, you can see your screen. You can see your screen.
Okay, so we have William and Godwin Dixon. And what happened to the remaining two? I thought there were like 4 or 5 people. Okay, so for the next question, I think my network is a little bit slow. Well, can you see the okay, so we still have Dixon. So for the next question, which of the following gases is not a greenhouse gas? We have methane, carbon monoxide, ozone, nitrous oxide. And our answer is carbon monoxide. The next question, what property of a reservoir rock is most critical for storing large volumes of CO2? Hello, sorry, please can sorry, please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, so we've 5
I think
questions.
the network
When's the
is
next?
bad and
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry for that. So sorry, please going to the next question. What does the acronym DAC stand for in carbon removal technologies? Okay. Since nobody answered this other question. Sorry. Question 8.
the network is bad and it's not showing options to choose.
It's not showing options. Okay, how about
Yeah.
now?
And now I'm seeing options. Okay.
Okay, so captured CO2 cannot be stored underground permanently. False. All right, so number 9 question. So it seems everyone just chose each answers for themselves. But the answer is 1.48 degrees Celsius. So for the 10th question, can CO2 be stored in depleted oil and gas reservoirs? Yes, no, it's not a good CCUS reservoir, or it's still 2015. So let's see what people chose. Okay. So we have Gordon Dixon, we have Midday, and we have Efe as the top 3. So the last question, CCUS is important because it removes all pollutants from air, replaces fossil fuels entirely, helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions, makes plants grow faster. So the answer is help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, so we've come to the end of the quiz, and we have as first runner up, we have Godwin Dixon, then we have Mide, then we have Efe Ataminio. Sorry. So those are the top three for the quiz. Thank you for participating. Sorry about the network. I don't know why Airtel is doing me like this. But yeah, we've come to the end of the quiz. Thank you. So Juliana, if you can hear me, you could take over.
So much, Maria Sange, and congratulations to the winner, Godwin Dixon, Mide, and Efe Asenio. All right, so we have a little present for you from SP Worry Section 104. What you would do is just drop your number on the chat box, and we'll get back to you just after the meeting. Okay? All right. Thank you very much, Maria Sunday, for posting that. Okay, let me just share my screen, and we're moving over to the announcement section currently. So, Maria Sunday, please can you make me the host to just go ahead? Oh,
Yes, I've done that.
all right. Thank you very much for answering that session, and we're sorry for the network issues that you experienced them. Okay. Today seems like one of those days to take announcement is Favor Ojo. He's the program energy director of SP Redeemers University, but he's currently having some network issues, so I will just take that in his stead. Okay, we're having the energy symposium, and the theme is sustainable energy future, emerging threats, technologies, and solutions. And this is coming up on the 21st of June, 2025 by 12 p.m. It will be featuring keynote address, panel session, breakout session, scholarship fair, and more. I know you don't want to miss it, so tell someone to tell someone that we are having an energy symposium on the 21st. Mark your calendar. Okay. So moving on as our closing remark, and this will be taken by Ife Atamio. There's a YPSP word. Please, if you're on the call, kindly unmute and go ahead.
All right. Please confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. You can just speak up a bit.
All right. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to give honor to who honor is due. Honorable Speaker tonight, the person of Mr. Emmanuel Okpo, and he has really dealt well in this topic of the mystifying the role of reservoir engineering in CO2 sequestration. He has delved into this topic in details from the very basics to more technical aspects over this short period of time, which is actually fascinating. So thank you very much, sir. I also want to thank our honorable session chair, Mr. Tamuno Toyin Yambu, for giving us the opportunity to have this section, and Dr. Adintona Oluwaseun, our program chair, and most importantly, our honorable YP chair, Mr. Ebifanga Bebenebo. Thank you very much, sir, for having us giving us the opportunity to learn. And I also want to use the opportunity to thank the volunteers for this very section, right from the moderation to safety brief and the quiz and fun session. I really, really appreciate everyone. So I think that should be all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Favor Ojo. Thank you for that closing remark. Thank you, Efe Atamio, sorry, for that closing remark. And to all of you still on the call since 5 p.m., I want you to know that you all are the real MVP. I want to give a special shout out to our YP chair, engineer Ebifaga Bebenyibo. He has been here from since 5 o'clock and he's still here to the time. Thank you, sir. To our ALP lead, Paul Alabi, my CEO, thank you for this opportunity. And to all of you, just know that we care, SCA care, and I care. So from me to you, it's good night, stay safe, and see you again. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very much, Juliana.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.